What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Thank you so much again for tuning back in here with us as we go with part 2 of our conversation here, previewing the 2021-2022 NC State wrestling season. And we got here with us the 2018 National Championship winner, Michael Machiavello, the man, the myth, the legend, with the gold chain and all, for those who are listening in. So definitely looking forward to Mike to jumping back in. But one thing, though, Mike, I wanted to mention before we kind of jump back in here where we left off is, how much, this season, first of all, excited I was that the guys like Tariq Wilson, Hayden Hidley, Nick Reenan, and Thomas Bullard, that they decided to return. Because, I think that they all came in together during the 2016 recruiting class that was at the time ranked number 1 in the country. And between those guys, between those 4 guys, there was 7 team trophies won, 8 All-American honors, 5 ACC titles, 15 NCAA qualifications, and 292 career wins combined between the 4 guys. And so, I truly do think, in terms of, there are times like, for NC State, I feel like that the Pac-13, the 2013 recruiting class was kind of a program changer. And I think that 2016 was a program changer in the fact, it brought in multiple guys at multiple different weight classes that really took the program to the next level, where we're, right at the cusp of competing for that national team title. And that, honestly, I think that we could compete for it again this year. So,
the class of 2022 coming in is just as strong, man.
It is.
That class of 2022 fans should be really, really excited about, because we got some studs coming in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So again, it's exciting to see what goes on here. But yeah, for those who also too haven't checked out part 1, make sure you go check that out real quick again as we go through the 125 through the 165. But now we get to jump. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you were talking about how Hayden and Nick and Bullard, right? 6-year guys. When have there ever been 6-year guys, right? Outside of people with medical redshirted and stuff like that, or Olympic redshirted, but that's a lot of experience that these guys are able to bring back to the team, right? A lot of leadership, not just on the mat, but off the mat. So, that's something unique that I think is going to help make this team really, really strong this year compared to last year's, right? It's just another year of experience under the belt, and experience is the best teacher, right? Regardless of how you perform, right? Win or lose, that experience only makes you better. And so, those guys have done a great job. That class has done a great job, stepping up and leading that team to where it's at now. And so I'm excited to see how they finish out their careers, man.
Yeah, well, especially since, looking at this roster, it's really made up of probably about 20 to 25 either true freshmen or redshirt freshmen. And so, there's a lot of young guys. And so just like you said, for guys as experienced and as accomplished as Bullard, Tariq, Hayden, and, to have those guys be able to teach these guys is a huge benefit that will pay off for next year and the years to come, even after they do leave. So for sure. And again,
think about it, right? You have some guys that graduate after the 5th year and step into coaching roles. These guys after their 5th year are still on the team,
still wrestling.
Still wrestling.
Well, and again, Hayden Hidley this year has the opportunity to do something that nobody has ever done before and probably will never be able to do. Hopefully, because again, hopefully we don't have to go through the situation where it comes up, but basically where Hayden Hidley's won 4 ACC championships, and this year he has the opportunity to win 5. And again, I know that Melissa Evans, who's a volleyball player, she was a 4-time All ACC team member, and so she has the opportunity this year to do 5. But again, same thing with Hayden is that there's no way that you're going to be able to win 5 ACC championships or 5 conference championships, period. Unless something screwy happens. How could you redshirt or medical redshirt but still win an ACC championship? It's so you can't. So that's what I'm saying. So he might be the only, if there might be a couple of those this year, but to say that NC State has the opportunity here to have one of those is truly exciting for sure. So and I think that Hayden has much bigger goals than ACC championship this year for sure. And again, talking about him now, because again we left off at the 174. one of the biggest questions I was kind of curious about for sure was, I know that Hayden he had a home at the 157 weight class. He was dominant there. Again, I mean, was 4-time All American, 4-time ACC champion, 4-time NCAA qualifier, and now he's moving to 174, which is two big steps up. And I when I saw that, I was like, yeah, interesting. That's odd. But when I read that, basically, he basically made a statement saying that he wasn't sure that he could take the mental and the physical toll it takes to stay at the 157 weight class again. So basically, Pat and him decided to move him to 174, which is more of his natural weight class. So, I mean, I feel like, Mike, that's a pretty interesting transition to make in a year where, again, he's been so dominant so far. And I think this year, again, his goal is to win national title, period, straightforward. That's it. Because I mean, he's been so close. He's been a runner up, if I'm not mistaken, twice. And so, I mean, I think he is so due for a national title. It's unreal. But I mean, what were your kind of initial thoughts, Mike, when you kind of heard the news that he was moving to 174?
I love it.
Yeah, okay.
Honestly. I think it's a great move for him. I think it's only going to help him. I think it's going to make things easier. I think it's going to allow him to just stay focused for longer, right? Wrestling's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And I think it's just better overall, right? But I'm also speaking from experience as well, right? First 4 years of college, I wrestled 184 pounds, right? Now, granted, I was not anywhere near as dominant as Hayden's been, right? Like, I qualified for the NCAA tournament one time, and I was around a 12, right?
Yeah.
But still, though, right, when you go up a weight class, right, my natural body weight's between, it's like 210, right? And so going from only having to cut, give or take, 8 to 10 pounds to instead of, 20, 25, right? That extra weight makes a big difference, So now you spend less time on a treadmill or on a bike or wearing a bunch of sweats trying to cut water weight. You just have a little bit more flexibility in your diet, right? And you also you really just spend less time cutting weight and more time just focused on developing, time in the room, right? Less distraction. And it's just a lot easier on the body as well. And as a 6th-year guy, right? For me, I think it was good because as a 5th-year guy, right? Like I said, wrestling's a marathon, not a sprint. You put your body through a lot over the course of 5 years. And so this is year 6 for Hayden. So I think, honestly, it's a great move for him. And I'm really excited to see how well he does because I think you also, not just for Hayden, but you start to see a trend in the sport of wrestling just in general of guys cutting weight less because of how much better they feel, how much more energy you have, how much more time you spend just focused on development and your craft rather than cutting weight, right? There's a good buddy of mine named Steven Rodriguez who bumped up, I believe, 3 weight classes and All-American.
Wow.
Who wasn't an All-American before, right? And so I think you're also just starting to see a trend in wrestling overall. So, but I honestly love the move for him. I think it's great, and I'm really excited for him.
I agree. Well, and and this kind of transitions nicely into our
Makes me like a brick house at 74. I don't know if you've seen him lately, but my man is stacked up.
I have not seen him in person yet, but again, I mean, and again, we're recording this the Wednesday before Louisville game, so before the wrestle off. So definitely looking forward to seeing him in person for sure.
A pair of pads and a helmet for the game. Put him in the box, maybe a linebacker or something.
I'm sure Doran would sign him up if Pat would let him. I'm sure Doran would let him do that. Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need, offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time wearing and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. But so it kind of, but one of the things too, which I'm excited about too, is, I mean, obviously at 184, you got Trent Hidlay, who's coming in preseason ranked number 3 in the country and coming off of a super, super strong season last year. And I mean, a guy that, it was just so awesome to see last year the connection between Trent and Hayden. Like after Trent won his AC championship, seeing him and Hayden all getting hyped up together and all that. So for them to be back to back like that, where basically Hayden's coming off as Trent is going on, I think that adds a little bit of kind of a competitive edge of Hayden kind of walking off, like let's say after a win and being like, all right, Trent, your turn. But you better not let me win, by myself, kind of deal. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that Trent is a guy last year that really grew a lot during the season. I think that definitely at the end of the year, he was not the wrestler at the end like he was at the beginning. He really grew a lot, and I mean, for him to pull off,
it's still growing a lot, right?
Absolutely.
Even just this offseason, grow tremendously, over the spring and the summer, right? And then you also look at U.S. Open finalist, I believe, or did he lose in the semis? I can't remember.
I think he was a finalist.
A finalist, I believe. And then finished third at World Team Trials, right? So did well at his last two senior level competitions. Had a great performance at the RTC Cup in December. Right. Mm-hmm. So just off season has done a really, really good job, man. And so I think I've seen just a lot of maturity, right, from both of those guys. Hayden came in with a lot of maturity, and Trent's kind of just echoed that same level of maturity since he's come in. And so it's been awesome to have those guys on the team.
Yeah. And also, too, Trent actually got third place at the U.S. team trials, 92 kilograms. So still.
Yeah. Still awesome.
Even still. Yeah. I mean, he's a redshirt sophomore. He's still got 2 more years if he wants to. Holy smokes!
Started, man. He's just started. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, especially with his his signature. Hey, Trent, how they was raising the roof and the electric guitar. Oh yeah. No, I mean, I'm excited to see his energy to really get Reynolds Coliseum rocking this year, which I think that Pat Papalicio. Yeah, I'm sure all the wrestlers are really missed and looking forward to having Wolfpack Nation back in Reynolds. And then moving on to 197. So again, I think that this is kind of the same position you were in last year, where you got 2 guys. Isaac Trumbull, who came in last year as a true freshman, was super impressive. I think had 4 pins last year, which was amazing. One against Carolina, which is even nicer. And then you still got a guy like Nick Reenan, who's a 6-year senior that came in and has been solid for sure, and has been a multi-time NCAA qualifier. And so for me this year, I think that again it's going to be interesting to see what Pat does with this weight class, and especially does with the guy like Nick Reenan, that you're going to try and use him somewhere, because you're not going to let a guy that experienced just sit on the sides.
Right.
Feel like you got to use him somewhere. So, but so it'll be interesting. But again, I think that with a guy like Isaac, it's going to be tough though to do what you do with him too, because he was so impressive last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the staff knows what they're doing, right? But they also got some pretty good guys in Jacob Ferreira and Christian Knopp too, right?
That's true.
Pack fans are familiar with those guys, right? But
they will be.
You'll see those guys do work in some of the competitions, with the opportunities that they're given, right? I think actually Ferreira beat Bullard in the wrestle-off last year. Now it's going up. Yeah, so
interesting.
Or not last year, but the last season, right?
Right.
That's right. The whole mess that we've had with this year, but we could do a whole nother episode on just. But yeah, man. So Trumbull's I think Trumbull's got a great mentality, right? A lot of confidence. And Reenan's just is great skill, man. He's a very, very skilled wrestler. He came in and made a lot of noise right away. It'll be interesting to see if he stays at 197, right? Because like you said, it's on the roster, right? 174, 187, and I believe that is the move that he'll be making. So. From what I know, right, obviously everything can change.
All speculation. Yeah.
Right. So, it'll be interesting to see what the staff does at 197 with that. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, Trumbull did a great job with his opportunities and definitely has earned a lot of respect, not just from teammates, but just from, other guys at 197 pounds, right? One of the guys who was an NCAA finalist last year. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, good win, and I don't believe he pinned him. He beat him 6-2. What was the score of that match, or did he pin him? I
The
think
only
he
ones
points.
he
Yeah, decision, the Pittsburgh match.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
the Pittsburgh match.
yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
yeah.
So,
And that wrestler, he was in the NCAA finals last year. Lost in the
yeah.
finals to AJ Ferrari. Yeah, so
Mhm.
um, yeah, man, and you got guys that they. I mean, we've always had good upperweight situation though, right? Like, um, Pat's done a really good job bringing in, really talented upperweights, and regardless of who the starter is, just keeping them competitive. I know, like for me, when I was wrestling at 187, you had Malik McDonald, you had Mike Boykin, you had Taylor Johnson, right, and Pete Renda. Pete Renda wrestled Wolfpack
Pete.
Open at 197 one year, won it, right, and so it's like
Yep.
all these guys that train around the same weight, and it's just like there's a lot of competitiveness and there's a lot of just in the room iron sharpening iron. So I think
Yeah.
we're in good hands with the upper weights. So
Yeah. Well, because that kind of transitions nicely to our heavyweight weight class,
yeah,
which because one thing which I think for me as a wrestling fan that I think of is looking at guys like Malik McDonald and some of the other heavyweights that have come since Gwiz,
yeah.
Nick Wisdowski, is you see a lot of guys that are
Mike Boykin, Southern Scuffle finalist, right?
right.
Yeah,
Right. And so, I mean, so Malik McDonald and then Boykin, I mean, those are two guys when I think of them, I they're competitive. They're not
yeah,
necessarily dominant, but they're competitive, which I think, especially when you're competing in a team environment, that's something you need. You need a guy that's not going to give up, bonus points as much as possible, not give up pins. Like,
right.
you need to, keep them competitive. But I mean, like looking at a guy like Deontay Wilson, and he's a guy when I see him wrestle, that again, not necessarily dominant per se, but he's a guy that he's I feel like technically he's very efficient. He's a guy that doesn't put himself in bad positions. He's a guy that also too doesn't, miss an opportunity to take advantage of a mistake either, but he's not necessarily a guy that I see as necessarily forcing somebody to make a mistake like maybe like a Gwiz did where he just dominated. He was like, listen, you come here, pin, like
Right.
and that's not necessarily Deontay, and that's okay. Again, I mean,
Right.
especially with the heavyweight this year, how competitive it is. Again, highlighted by Gable Stevenson from Minnesota.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, I think that this year, I mean, as long as he could be competitive and I mean compete
Yeah.
again for an ACC title, that's gonna be huge for us this year.
Yeah, returning ACC champ, right? And then I think you also have
Yep.
Tyree Houghton, who's a North Carolina native, along with James
Yep.
Joplin and Donald Cates, two other North Carolina kids on the team.
Yep.
But Tyree's going up to heavyweight, and then also Owen Treffin. Owen is competitive too, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I love watching him and Deontay scrap. Both those guys, you could mix them in, and they'll both perform, right? And so,
Yep.
um, and like I said, Deontay's a returning ACC champ, so that's what's
Yep.
cool. And you mentioned, he doesn't, he's pretty efficient and he's smart about the risk he takes. Deontay, if you
Mm-hmm.
listen to this, I would like you to take more risk and take more chances, right? Get yourself in some of those positions, man. But I think that's what's going to help him get to the next level, right? And so you're right. He does wrestle that, and he's got such heavy hips,
Mm-hmm.
heavy hips. He's
Yes.
strong. I'm pretty sure one time I took like a single leg shot on Deontay. We were wrestling live, and I'm like strained my like rotator cuff or something for like a week.
You
Like 2
couldn't
weeks.
get
I'm
him.
like, man, now I'm only shooting to this side, right? So I ended up getting the score, but like, man, I could move my arm after
Yeah.
that. It's like he's solid defensively, man, and he's hard to score on. So I think that's another thing that he brings to the table. He gives guys a lot of problems when they get in on the leg. So it's one
Mm-hmm.
to get in on, and then it's another to finish. So
That's right. That's right. Yeah. No. Especially again in the story, which I love for this team overall, you've got a lot of balance between experience but also young talent, which is a great combination to have. And I truly think this year really just is the absolute pinnacle of that. That any team would want. So, obviously, last year, I think NC State finished sixth at nationals.
yeah,
And so I think that obviously, Pat and all these guys, I mean, I think that definitely the goal this year is to have multiple national champions, individual national champions, but also to,
absolutely. Yes.
compete, be right there. I mean, we're starting off number 3 preseason in the rankings, and number 1 was Iowa, and then you got Iowa number 1, Missouri number 2, NC State number 3, Oklahoma State 4, and Michigan 5. And then you still got Penn State number 6 as well. So I mean, you're right in the middle right now, projected preseason wise. And I mean, I think that any State fan would be thrilled to be watching nationals when they take place at the beginning of 2022 and see us rankings rise right in the middle of those guys, because it seems like it's almost every single year it's always like Penn State, Iowa, and Oklahoma State is like the top, and then everybody else is just kind of competing right underneath. So if we can get our name in there, I think that'd be a huge accomplishment for this team. And hey, maybe pull away with the whole thing. Who knows? We got the guys for it.
Why not, right? I think the expectation last year was definitely at least team trophy. So finishing 6th, I think is an awesome accomplishment. But I think for those guys, it's just more fire for this year, right? I think these guys know how good I think these guys know how good they can be and how good they really are. So, pretty much just echoing everything you've already said. But it's going to be an exciting year for these guys, and I think Pac fans should be really, really excited.
Now, the one thing which I did want to bring up, Mike, which I thought was interesting this year before we finish off this preview, is looking at the schedule. Yeah. Usually, for the most part, you'll see basically for the ACC schedule wise, you'll see us play the Deuce, Virginia's, the Pits, and then usually the finale will be Virginia Tech. Well, this year, this ACC schedule decided to change things up a little bit and have us compete against Virginia Tech first before competing against the rest of the ACC, which I find interesting for sure. Because I mean, for over the last 5-6 years, I feel like at least it's pretty much come down to whoever wins the NC State Virginia Tech duel wins the regular season title. And so I mean,
too real quick.
Oh, let me.
Let's go.
What's up, Tommy? Hey, what's going on? Yeah, for those listening in, we finish. No, absolutely. But for those who are listening in real quick, we got national champ Tommy Gann just come in and say hey to Wolfpack Nation. So but yeah, anyway, so I find it interesting that again, I mean it's basically like you don't have these opportunities to kind of get ready with some of these other AC schools. It's trial by fire, like throw it right in and go against Virginia Tech and possibly go and decide a regular season title right there. We'll see. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, that is very interesting. Yeah, I kind of wish they didn't do that. To be honest.
but again,
I like knowing. Okay, this is it. This is last of the season. It's us or Virginia Tech. I think that adds to the excitement. So that kind of stinks. But I mean, man, there's so much competitiveness between the two schools. It doesn't matter where you put that dual meet in the season. I mean, it's going to be. No. It's going to be
awesome.
Right. Yeah. At Reynolds, whether it's in Reynolds or whether it's in Blacksburg, there's going to be
it's at Reynolds this year.
It's going to be rowdy, right? So, regardless of where you put that dual meet, it's going to be a lot of fun. So,
yep. Well, it is at Reynolds this year, Wolfpack Nation. So make sure to have that date circled, and I'll actually go and tell you it's January 21st at 7 p.m. at Reynolds Coliseum. But again, the first match, which is against West Virginia, takes place on November 21st. But then they also have like the Wolfpack Wrestling Club Open, which is on November 14th. So definitely make sure to Wolfpack Nation have those dates circled, and we'll be there. So excited to check it out, and you'll see all you guys like you'll see Mike there for sure. You'll see myself. You'll see a bunch of guys. So make sure to join us there. But thank you all so much again for tuning in. And Mike, I appreciate you joining us and breaking down the season. I think it's going to be an awesome season. I can't wait to see it.
Absolutely, my guy. I appreciate you having me on every time. It's a pleasure, man.
Absolutely appreciate it. But thank you all so much again for tuning in, and hope you all enjoyed this. Please make sure again to hit that subscribe button to really help support us in the channel. Please give us a like and check out all of our other great NC State content. We just did men's basketball preview, and we got other previews as well coming up. So make sure to tune in and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and give us a follow at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter or Instagram. And thank you all so much again for the support. And as always, go Pack, y'all.